Okay, we're back with you here on Gridiron, and this is our schedule portion. We have 6 games this week. 5 of them are on Friday. Every game, no matter if they're Friday or Saturday, is 7 p.m. First off, the Friday games, Newcastle is 9-2, and they take on Aliquippa 7-3. That's the WPIAL Class 4A playoffs. That's at Elwood City. We touched on a lot of this in the Red Hurricane Minute, but one question I will ask you, Larry, and I know the answer is going to be don't let them score. But let's say we know Aliquippa is a go for 2 type of offense. So you're Newcastle and you score first, knowing that they go for 2 a lot. Does that influence you in any way to say we got to go for 2?
No, I'm kicking it. As I said, the kicker for Newcastle, Chase Kamadaran, he's been really good. I think he was 5 for 6 in the last game he kicked. As long as I have a long snapper, whether it be Quaylen Davis or somebody else who will step into that role, I'm kicking the extra point. Again, Ronnie, it's got to be less than 50% 2-point conversions. It might be less than 30%. You know, I like to tack on the extra point and put the pressure on the other team.
Okay. And that said, how dangerous of a team, not just Aliquippa, but anybody, knowing that that's all they do is go for 2, and 1 out of 2 is 50%, and that's just like kicking 2 extra points.
1 out of 2 is really good,
but
I don't think it is 50%. I'd be anxious to see what the conversion rate on 2-point conversions is in high school football. I got to believe it's less than 50%. I just do. I mean, how many times have we watched it this year? You know, I'd be anxious to know what Newcastle is, and they're one of the most explosive offenses in the WPIAL. I'd say closer to 30%, like 1 out of 3. And that's just not good enough. I mean, I like to have that extra point. If I scored 3 touchdowns, I won 21 points.
Okay, Mohawk 6-5 against Seton LaSalle. This game will be 7 p.m. at Keystone Oaks' Dormont Stadium. This is a WPIAL Class 2A playoff matchup, and we've been saying this probably for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it has been. I'd hate like hell to have to play Mohawk in the playoffs, and Mohawk advanced last week by kicking a field goal on the last play of the game, 22 yards, I believe it was. And now they get the top seed Seton LaSalle. And again, I still would hate to have to play Mohawk, no matter how good any team is.
Well, isn't it amazing how Mohawk always has a good kicker and a clutch kicker? Andrew Lloyd from 22 yards to win the game. Man, that's impressive. And it seems like every year they have one of those guys. And you're right. Mohawk is explosive. Anytime you got Bobby Fadden handling the ball on every offensive play, something good can happen. He's just that good. And, you know, Mohawk has been building towards this. They're a way better team now than they were at the start of the year. And they beat Neshannock or opening day. And then they had some injuries and struggled for a few weeks, but they're playing good football. Now, you're playing Seton LaSalle. It depends what kind of a recruiting year they had. That'll dictate what kind of team they're going to put on the field Friday night.
Yeah, put it into perspective from a coach's perspective, and maybe even if you want to do it from Tim McCutcheon's perspective. You know, Andrew Lloyd missed a game-winning field goal at Beaver Falls at Geneva College's Reeves Field. I believe it was in the 30s, maybe 36-yard or 38-yard field goal. It was a little further, but, you know, to go right back to him without batting an eye and saying, there, it's on you. This is for the game. Go ahead and go win it for us.
You got confidence in your kicker. You know, those guys are worth their weight in gold, man. And, you know, again, he had a pretty good day. He converted 2 extra points and a field goal. He was 3 for 3. Not too bad. That's a pretty good day for a high school kicker.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw the whole sequence, but Fadden threw a nice pass down the right sideline to Joe Nail, and he caught it. And they called timeout, I believe it was, or he went out of bounds, one of the two, to stop the clock. 2 plays, you know, a long pass and then the field goal. So very nice plays by Joe Nail catching it and Bobby Fadden throwing it, and then Andrew Lloyd kicking it.
Yeah, that's the way to close the deal, man. That's big time stuff. And as I said, you know, Bobby Fadden, I've been watching him for about 5 years now. I remember him as an 8th grader torching my 9th grade basketball team. He's a special athlete. Anytime he's playing for your team, you got a chance to win.
Elwood City 7-4 against Steel Valley, which is 7-3. This is 7 p.m. at Campbell Field. I believe Steel Valley also had a first round bye. This is Class 2A playoffs, and Elwood City is another team that's playing very well at the right time.
Man, Coach Bradley can coach them up. And as we said last week, 269 passing yards. I mean, that's NFL stuff. And of course, Dom Hogue, 10 for 148. You know, it's hard to defend in high school. It's hard to defend. You know, most high school defenses are geared to defend the run because, as we said, 90% of the time you outrush the other team, you're going to win. Now, that didn't hold true last week. There was a couple, Neshannock being one of them, got outrushed, Newcastle being outrushed, and they still won the game. But, you know, high school defenses are geared to stop the run, not the pass. So Elwood could put, as long as they can protect the quarterback, you know, they can put up some points.
Yeah. And playing the pass defense, it forces you to have some semblance of height in the defensive secondary, because if the offensive team has somebody that's 6'2", 6'3", what have you, you know, there's going to be a mismatch somewhere on the field unless you've got somebody that can go get the ball like that offensive player can.
Oh yeah, sure. You know, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They throw it to Mount Washington. You know, the guy's about 6'8", I think 325. You know, so it's hard to get around him when he's boxing you out to make a catch.
Right. Neshannock 8-3 versus Fort Cherry, which is 11-0. This is 7 p.m. at Beaver High School, WPIAL Class 1A playoffs. Lancers played very well last week on the road against Leechburg, and they're going to have to play well again because this is a top-seeded Fort Cherry team that's led by Matt Sieg, who is committed to Penn State, but he opened his recruitment after James Franklin was fired. So we'll see if he hangs on at Penn State or not. Hanging on would be Matt Sieg. We'll see if he goes there. But
yeah, I mean, look, Neshannock only ran the ball for 61 yards on Friday night. That's not a winning formula in high school football. Now, of course, Gino Mazzoca had a big day. Out of the 61 yards of rushing, he had 35 of them on one run for a touchdown. And of course, he throws the ball like Dan Marino. So, yeah, Gino had a big day, 132 on yards passing and a bunch of yards. Out of the 61 yards, he probably had 2/3 of them on the ground. But I think they're going to have to do a little better job at the line of scrimmage, especially with this stud that Fort Cherry has. Or it could be a long night for the Lancers.
Laurel 10-1 versus Chartiers Houston 8-3. This is 7 p.m. at West Allegheny High School, Class 1A playoffs. Larry, Chartiers Houston surprised Southside Beaver 26-21 in the first round.
Yeah.
And Chartiers Houston, I think that was their first playoff win since 2000 or 2001. And Laurel has become a playoff regular here. And Laurel is, what, a 4 seed, somewhere around there. And Chartiers Houston is a 12. I don't want to say it's going to be a cakewalk into the semifinals, but this is a really favorable matchup for Laurel.
Again, Laurel last week, 193 on the ground, holding Jefferson Morgan to 116. You know, Laurel does a lot of things right. They only had 4 penalties. They turned the ball over only one time. You know, they do things right. They forced 3 turnovers on the other side. So, you know, when you control the line of scrimmage and you win the turnover battle, you're going to win a lot of football games, and that's who Laurel is. They don't beat themselves.
Yeah, they're a disciplined football team for sure. Very fun to watch, and they win in all 3 areas of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. If you beat Laurel, you're going to have to go into that game buckling up really good and have a good game plan, because you just don't get off the bus and tape up and say we're going to go out and beat them. Because
no, you got to control the line of scrimmage. And then if you do that, I mean, Lucas Santini, didn't they set the school record for touchdown passes a couple of weeks ago, and he's throwing to Colton Carlson?
Yeah. So
they can beat you both ways, even though they didn't throw the ball much last week. Actually, they were 0 for 5. I'm sorry, they were 5 for 10 for 80 yards. They threw it just enough, you know, and they can beat you a couple different ways. They're a well-balanced team with the emphasis on running the football, and they do it well.
Yeah, well, when you win 35-0, you don't really need to throw it all over the lot. You can
no, but they can if they have to.
Oh,
We've seen it all year.
Saturday, November 8th, our lone game on Saturday is Wilmington 7-3 versus Cambridge Springs, which is 8-3. That game's at 7 p.m. at Grove City High School's Forker Field, Larry. District 10 Class 1A playoffs. Forker Field. You ever been to Forker Field?
I've never been to Forker Field.
No.
I've only been to Grove City a few times in my life, so but never been to Forker Field. But hey, Wilmington, they go as Chase Mickeltree goes. If Mickeltree has a big day, and Wilmington runs the ball, they're going to win. You know, it's just who they are. It's what they do. They don't try to fool anybody. If they throw more than 3 passes in any one game, call the newspaper, because it's just not who they are. That's not what they do. But I don't know anybody that's really put a stop on Chase Mickeltree all year. Farrell might have slowed him down a little bit. But other than that, my man's good for 2-3 touchdowns every game.
Yep, that is correct. Larry's been to Grove City a few times, probably all on shopping trips to the outlets, no doubt.
I've been to the outlets a few times, and I don't know. So I might have had a girlfriend at Grove City when I was at Slippery Rock, but that lasted about 1 date. Yeah, that's Slippery Rock guys just weren't meant for Grove City women back then. It's just she wasn't impressed with the fact that I was a third baseman.
Yeah, she says, "Oh, I don't have the patience for this. I'm changing."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that is our show for this week, Gridiron. We have 6 teams that are still playing, 5 on Friday, all in the WPIAL, and 1 team on Saturday, which is in District 10. So, and nobody's playing each other. So by rights, we could come back here next week and still have 6 teams playing.
I'm not so sure we'll have 6, but I think we'll have at least 3. Mm-hmm. I think we'll have half our team still alive going into the finals weekend, right?
And you right. And do you realize that if out of those 3 teams, it sounds like you think Newcastle's going to win?
I do.
And I would imagine you feel that Wilmington's going to win.
Actually, and I think Laurel's going to win. So those are my 3 predictions.
So out of those 3 predictions, 2 of those games will be Saturday. Newcastle would play a Saturday championship at 12:05 at Pine Richland. Wilmington would play the District 10 championship on Saturday as well. So we'd have 2 championship games on Saturday.
That'll be nice. That would be really nice. I'd like to do that. I'd like to see all our teams win. And, again, can Mohawk win? Absolutely. Bobby Fadden's stunned. Could Elwood win? It's just like Air Coryell down there now. There's no question about that. Neshannock, they got a tough sled here. But look, those boys from Neshannock are tough. Their dads are all from Newcastle up there now. So you never know. So, but I predict we'll have at least 3 in the finals.
Okay. All right. Very good. That is Gridiron for this week. He's Larry Kelly. I'm Ron Poniwaz. We thank you for joining us. Best of luck to our county teams, coaches, players, supporters of the teams. Hopefully you'll be back next week to watch us next week on another Gridiron. Thank you for joining us this week.
We're here with Elwood City's Dom Hogue. Dom is our athlete of the week. He had a great game. We'll get into that real quick. A 35-13 win in the first round of the WPIAL Class 2A playoffs over Keystone Oaks. Dom, talk about that win and getting one last home game.
We came out flat. It was a little bit of a slow first half, so coming out in the second half and doing what we needed to do and get this win was really big for us, especially in our last home game on this field that we'll play.
10 receptions, 148 yards. You set 2 school records, too, in the process. What can you say about that?
It's definitely a big accomplishment. I'm very proud of myself, but it's just all the hard work paying off over the years, so I'm happy got to showcase that for everyone.
21 points out of the 35 were in that fourth quarter, and you punched in the last touchdown of the game. What was really opening up for you guys in that quarter?
I think it was just our momentum. We started seeing in the third quarter what we could take advantage of, and we just capitalized really big in the fourth quarter.
All right.
We all know there's an advantage to being the home team, to playing at home. And at LGKG, we have been your home team for personal injury cases involving automobile accidents and workers' compensation claims for over 90 years. At LGKG, over 10,000 clients have trusted us to represent them. We know how to present your case to a Western Pennsylvania jury. We know what makes them tick. We know how to win.